Good morning, good morning. What's up, you guys? Feel like it's been a while because I didn't trade Friday, I don't think. Or no, I don't remember if I traded Friday, but then the holiday. Taking Monday off. It's been a couple days. Good morning, chat. What's up? All right, so taking a look at the charts, zooming out a little bit, this 25-100 level was a decent support that I was watching. I actually posted about it in Discord. That was my target for shorts, and it happened overnight. But since I woke up in time, I took a little long off of that. I don't think that's necessarily the bottom. I do feel like it could come down to 25K at some point, but I don't know if it's going to happen today. If this 25-100 holds, we'll see how the market opens. But that's kind of my thought, is that's a decent support and we got a good bounce off of it. But we're kind of at a key level here. I drew up the overnight fixed range volume profile. We're right at the point of control from overnight, and this red anchored VWAP is from the low of day. We're kind of chopping around right there. So if we hold this level that we're at right now, we could potentially go back up to VWAP, which is at 25,300, or up, potentially to 25,400, which is where we were, the overnight highs. But if we drop below this level that we're at right now, we could go back down to the overnight lows at 25,100. So that's my thought. We're kind of at a decision spot right now. Just gonna be flexible and see what the market brings when it opens up. What about you guys in the chat? What are you thinking? Trombone King, good morning. Stockfather, good morning. What's going on, you guys? Jack Chin, you think it's going to be a crazy day today? Why do you say that? Just because of the holiday coming back from that increased volatility, or what? I know there's quite a few news things going on. There were headlines for like airstrikes or something over the weekend, but I feel like those might have been played out already in the markets. We do have the tentative tariff opinion today, but I don't know. I feel like that's kind of been tentative for a while, and then they keep extending it, and who knows? The fact that it says tentative on the schedule, I'm not convinced that it's actually going to happen today, but definitely something to be aware of. I agree. Trump speaks later today, pretty much when the market closes during power hour, so that won't affect us in the morning. And then we have Netflix earnings this afternoon, which, again, I'm not sure how much that'll affect the market open, but if you're trading later this afternoon, that could play a factor. Other than that, other than just like random headlines, news headlines in the air, there's not any like data releases today. That all happens on Thursday and Friday this week, are the big news events. Would love to see price move up to 25,400s for a reversal. I agree, Zach. If we do have a pump at the open, I'm not opposed to taking a small position long, because it would be a clear stop loss for me. Like, let's say we enter here, I would probably just put my stop loss somewhere down here. And the risk to reward on that, potentially all the way back up to overnight highs, that is massive. So, I mean, I could take like 2 contracts on that and be happy with the results. But yeah, if we just miss it, like if it just explodes out of the open and goes up to 400, 440-ish, that could be a good spot to short. Oh, goodness. It exploded out of the open. Come on. There's definitely times when I'm like, dang it, I should have gotten in a pre-market position because it happened exactly as I thought it would. But then, the times that I actually get into a position and then it like dumps the other way or whatever fast, because that opening volatility is just wild and unpredictable. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? All right, so it rejected at VWAP, that 300-ish level. I do have a previous support resistance level there too. All right. Let's see if that was the area that we're rejecting and now we're going to go back to the lows. Or are we kind of just still fighting the algos? Good morning from India. What's up? Good morning, good morning. All right. I'm taking a small position long, not much risk. Putting my stop loss below the opening range low, and I'm okay with the risk because, like I said, the risk reward is good if it goes back up to 410. $257 is where I entered. Put my stop at the bottom of the range low, but going to move to break even as soon as I can. All right, gonna move to break even since it's still the pre-market, or not pre-market, the market open volatility. But gonna see if it goes up to those overnight highs. Oh, man smooth? No, I trade MNQ. This position is actually on MNQ. I recently started charting NQ just because I've heard from like random YouTube videos that I watch that the volume is better to read on NQ since that's what the institutions are trading. But honestly, I haven't noticed a difference. I just started doing that this week. But no, I actually place my trades on MNQ. All right, I'm gonna just keep trailing my stop loss to squeeze as much out of this if I can in case it doesn't return to those overnight highs. An area to watch out for is if it hits 25,400 and starts to reject, it could just reject from there and not go all the way back up. Shez, what's up? It's always good to see you in the chat. All right. Grabbed a little bit out of it. I'll take it. All right, now I'm going to wait and see what happens with this 15-minute opening range. This is a high volume node area that I have here. So, I mean, it's rejecting that 25,345-ish. Pretty clear rejection there. Let's see if this is just a little pullback and it continues higher, or if we're dumping from here. So this spot right here, 25,235, would be kind of the line in the sand for longs and shorts for me. Lots of stuff right there. That is the low of day anchored VWAP, and right now it's the opening range low. So if we drop below that, we're probably going to continue back down to this overnight low. But for now, looks like it might continue back up. First night since being back from Australia and no kids in the bed. So you actually got some sleep. Shez, I am not placing trades on NQ. I'm still trading MNQ. I saw something in a YouTube video recently that was talking about reading volume and recommended that you chart on NQ because that's where the real volume is. So I just switched about a week ago, but honestly, I don't notice that much of a difference. I retraced about half of that first 5-minute opening candle. Let's see where our New York anchored VWAP is. Making its way back down. Our 15-minute opening range low right now is right at previous day low. So let's see if it holds. 10,000 subs, I know. It's wild. Kind of exciting. All right, coming down to this low of day anchored VWAP and 15-minute opening range low and previous day low. Like, this is the spot where we bounce if it's going to happen. So watching for a possible long here if volume confirms it. but going to stay patient. I'm watching. Looking good so far. All right, I'm entering along 275. Opening range high so far is here. Let's see if it goes higher. Putting my stop loss at break even. I'll take off 2 at the current opening range high. Working on not being too greedy and like holding the whole thing for a home run trade. I don't know. Is this thing going to continue? So taking off 2 of the 5 at this current opening range high, current high of day. And then I'll just hold the runners to, let's see if it comes up to this Asia high. Oh, come on. It was so close. Don't do that. It's struggling at this 330 level. But it's holding 300, barely. Can she make it? Nope. Does not look like it wants to go higher right now. Interesting. All right, our 15-minute opening range is set at this point. So let's see where it goes. After that last little struggle to move higher, I'm not so sure. Might be looking at shorts. Still watching to see what happens in this area. Like I said, there's quite a bit of support. Previous day low, low of day anchored VWAP, and the 15-minute opening range low. So I think I would wait for confirmation before jumping into shorts. Waiting until the 10 a.m. news. Are you talking about the tentative tariff announcement thing? Yeah, I don't know what to think on that one. Like, is that going to be just an announcement? Like they're putting out a tweet or something? Or is someone going to speak? Or, I mean, they say tentative. Are they just going to make an announcement that they've delayed the tariffs again? I feel like that's actually what's going to happen, is another announcement of a delay. But yeah, it's probably a good thing to wait and see. It's only 11 minutes away, and we're still just chopping around in the middle of this range anyway, so don't see any great opportunities. I feel like this is a good clear range for the 15-minute opening range, because I have a higher time frame support resistance level around 25,340-ish, and opening range high is right above. So we could look for a rejection from here and make it a range play, target the bottom of the range. Or if it breaks out and holds above, then we have a pretty clear target of the overnight high. Same thing to the downside. If it breaks below all this support right here, we could be looking for a target to the overnight low. Or if it holds this support, we could take a long off the bottom of the range. So I feel like there's lots of confluence at both ends for support and resistance. Decent opportunity for a range trade today or breakout retest. All right, coming up towards the top of this range. Let's see if we reject, or are we going to break out? There you go, G-Man. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards longs. Just didn't want to chase it. So I was in this long and it hit my trailing stop loss. And at that point, I kind of felt like I would have been chasing it. I don't know. I think it's kind of a trigger for me if I re-enter a trade that I got stopped out on that quickly. So I try to avoid doing it. But yeah, that was definitely a nice opportunity because it broke above those VWAPs with volume. Like you can see this strong candle right here confirming with volume down below. Even if you just targeted the top of the 15-minute opening range, that could have been a good opportunity. Looks like this wants to continue. Probably going to go up to 400-ish or higher. I'm curious to see what happens at this 10 o'clock news thing. Yeah, Shez, I feel ya. I think that has been a big breakthrough for me in my trading is figuring out what my tilt triggers are and just being aware of them so that I know how to actually stop. Because if people are like, oh my gosh, how do I stop over trading or how do I stop revenge trading? Well, everyone's different. You have to figure out what affects you. And I think for me, one of them, I have about 3 that I watch for. But one of them is if it hits my trailing stop loss and then it continues in the direction of my original trade, if I re-enter it, then I'm usually chasing and I don't get a good entry and I oversize and I'm just frustrated that like maybe I put my stop loss in the wrong spot and I should have just stayed in and like all of that starts spiraling in my head. So I have found that it's better for me just to let that one go and wait for another trade. All right, starting to reject this 15-minute high, but not with like aggressive selling volume. So I'm not convinced that we're going to go back down to the low unless something changes in the volume. But to me, it kind of looks like it might continue higher. Oh my gosh. Your lucid payout took more than 15 minutes. They spoil us with like 60-second payouts. So if you have to wait 15 minutes, it's an eternity. How dare them? I know when Lucid like first launched, they were just working 24/7, 7 days a week. Like they would approve. I had a payout approved at like 8 p.m. on a Friday one time, and I was really surprised. I was kind of expecting it to be Monday. But I think now that they're getting more established and I have a good following, they're actually starting to let their staff take time off. So it may have taken more than 15 minutes because yesterday was a holiday and they probably let some of their CS team actually take a day off. So I don't know. I'm good with it. I think that's actually a good sign for a company who actually cares about their employees. I know over the holidays with like Christmas and New Year's, they posted several days where they're like, our CS team is going to be totally logged off. Like you're not going to get a reply for 3 days if you message us on Christmas Eve. And there were a whole bunch of people in the Discord that were like, oh my gosh, I need you to give me a payout today on Christmas Eve. I was like, dude, chill out. You can wait a couple days. So I was actually happy that they posted that. I think that's pretty cool. That's just me though. All right, coming back down to this VWAP area. Let's see if it holds here. Might be a decent spot to enter along if it holds this 300 level. I like it. I like it. Let's see if volume confirms it. So far, it's not holding. What's it gonna be, NQ? What are we doing? Are we holding? I think she is. All right, I got in along 321.8 is where I entered. That moved up fast. Going to trill to at least break even so that I can be wrong. I'm gonna set a limit order at 400 just because I know that is kind of a higher time frame resistance and a round psych level. If it doesn't come down and just hit my stop loss right away. Come on. And then if it gets to that 400, I'll hold the rest to overnight high, which is what, like 420 something, 435. Well, that's why I was so aggressive to put my stop loss at break even, because we do have news coming out. So I'm glad I did that. Kind of starting to get a little jumpy here. It still might go up, but I was afraid of what was going to happen at 10 o'clock. Have they said anything? Like, is someone talking or what? Could come today, but nothing is for certain. So yeah, maybe there's nothing that's like actually scheduled at 10 o'clock. It was just a a place filler for saying that it could happen at any point today. Maybe that's what it actually is. So in other words, be prepared, because Trump could be logging into his X account and saying stuff. All right. One of those days, so this one hit my trailing stop loss in profit, made a decent amount of money on that one. This one hit me at break even. Kind of a choppy day. Looks like it's trying to hold and go up. That's what I'm seeing. Every little dip is getting bought back up so far, but buyers could get tired and this thing could just dump. Making its way back down. Again, at opening range low, we have previous day low. So decent support there. But zooming out, the overall trend is obviously very down. So I'm not looking for this to like go to the moon. I think if we could get confirmation that shorts are the way to go, it might be easier to ride the train down. Because once it goes, it could just go. This high volume node that I have right here is holding so far. Holding as resistance, I mean. Yeah. Barcode action. Nobody knows which way it's going to go. Right now, it would just be a guess. Gotta wait until it gets out of this range, really. What is our opening range? 122 points for the 15-minute range. Not super big. Starting to look a little droopy, perhaps. While we're waiting for some clear direction, you guys, if you haven't already, go hit that like button. I would appreciate it. Patty, good morning. First day here. What's up? How's it going? Look at how flat these VWAPs are, you guys. This darker blue one is from this session, so overnight, and then this light blue one that's kind of in the middle of this barcode, that is anchored from the New York Open. Flat. To me, that is a sign that it's choppy. I mean, you can look at it just on the 5-minute chart and see it. For me, though, it's helpful to have data to back up why I shouldn't trade. Because sometimes, if you're not clear-headed and like zooming out and looking at the charts, I shouldn't say you, me, if I'm in one of those moods where I'm like staring at every candle, trying to find something to trade, if I'm in that mode, it's nice to have like, I don't know, data points to remind me. Probably not a good time to trade. VWAPs are flat. We're stuck in the middle of the range, not going anywhere. Volume has died. Look at that. We're only 37 minutes into the New York Open and it's already fallen off a cliff. What is going on? Did everyone like take an extra day off this weekend? Turned it into a 4-day weekend instead of a 3-day weekend? Or do they know something we don't know about this whole tariff decision thing? Or, you know what I feel like has been a common theme? Is the market makers, institutions, banks, whatever you want to call it, they like to destroy retail traders for the first hour, and then the real move happens at like 11 or something. Taco? That was random. Are you hungry? Do you need to go get some breakfast tacos? All right. Kind of looking a little more like shorts are the way to go. It's holding this level here as resistance, starting to break below this low of day anchored VWAP. Curious to see what happens at this 15-minute opening range low. Trump always chickens out? What do you mean? Like doesn't follow through on his decisions or whatever, like the 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. announcement that's supposed to come out? Oh. No ruling on tariffs? So I guess they're pushing it down the road again. Does that mean they're delaying the decision? Oh. I was not following that. Thank you for the explanation. I didn't realize that Taco and Trump chickening out were together. I thought someone was hungry. Now you got me thinking about breakfast tacos. Might go to the store and buy me some tortillas and make some breakfast tacos. Leaning towards shorts, wondering if I should enter now since it's breaking this opening range or the low of day anchored VWAP. Because if I wait until it gets all the way down to the opening range low and it continues, I would miss out on part of the trade. Stop loss I would put up above these VWAPs. That's like a 38-point stop loss. I could always add to it if we get confirmation. For now, it's still holding this low of day VWAP though. No sign of buyers like eating this thing up though. Like I said, it's looking kind of droopy to me. As soon as I say that, all right, I'm short at 283.75. Could be wrong, but going to give it a shot. A lot of my reasoning is just to kind of walk through why. It's holding below VWAP. It had that big move up. I'm on the 2-minute chart. But it had that move up and it's not really supported by volume. So kind of looks like sellers are the aggressors right now. Also holding below that 300 level. Putting my stop loss at 314. And then if we get a breakout of this 15-minute opening range low, I'll add to it. It could potentially bounce at this opening range low. So I'll watch to see what kind of reaction we get down here at 25,236. But if this thing gets heavy and we break down, retest, I'll add. This orange line is our current 15-minute opening range low. So I'm going to see what happens there. Look for an opportunity to add if it happens. Yeah, Old Trader. It's kind of choppy. I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like it wants to go down, but buyers are stepping in and trying to defend it, but they're starting to get weaker. So I feel like once all of those positions are out of the way, it could just dump. I also could be totally wrong, and they could be accumulating to bring this thing back up to 400. Going nowhere fast. NQ's running on a treadmill. So far it's holding this anchored VWAP from the low of day. Rejecting VWAP. Let's see if we get some continuation on this one. So far, good volume on the way down. Come on, let's go. There she is. That's what I want to see. Keep going. Keep going. Come on. Oh, goodness. Are we going to get any continuation today? Not ruling on tariffs for another month. That was kind of what I was saying when the market opened. Just my gut, the way they didn't commit to anything on the schedule and they just put on like Forex Factory or Financial Juice, whatever you watch. It was in parentheses, tentative. That means nothing's going to happen. $10 minutes until our initial balance is set. For now, we're just chopping in the middle. We had a decent close down below that low of day anchored VWAP. And now we're just buying it right back up. That is coming from my stop loss. Alrighty then. Straight back up. Let's see what happens back up at this 15-minute opening range high. Did it come back down just to gather some steam so that it can explode back up to this overnight high? Or is it going to reject at this 350 level again? Nobody knows. Well, maybe somebody knows. I don't know. But I'll find out. Probably just a range for now. That's no fun. I don't know, this is a pretty strong 5-minute candle right here. There's still 2 minutes left on it, but dang. We're gonna engulf this entire range in 5 minutes. Looks like a barcode, what is it buying? Good question. Maybe test 400. Yeah, I mean, that is a strong candle. We'll see how it closes, but if it closes outside of the range and after like engulfing pretty much the entire range, that doesn't look like a fake out to me. Carissa, no, I was in a short and got stopped out at 314. I was in a small position size. I was looking to add if we got confirmation on the breakout below the range, and that never happened. So it stopped me out. Not even taking trades and it's triggering you. That's actually a skill I'm working on and improving on. Yesterday, I know it was a holiday, so probably not a great day to trade anyway, but I sat through the open, sat at my computer for like, it was probably a good 60 minutes and didn't take a single trade. I drew up some ideas, like I had some levels that I was watching, and it either didn't hit my level, or when it did, it didn't confirm with volume, like it didn't give me the trades that I wanted to take. So I didn't take any trades. I can't remember a time when I've done that before. I usually get to the point where I'm just anxious and I'm like searching for a trade, and I'll take something, even if it's a small loss or whatever. Like, I start to get antsy and I'll take a trade, even if it's not a good one. So I was proud of myself that I sat there and walked away and said, I don't like anything. That's a big win for me. So if you're like me, where you struggle with like not being able to just stare at the charts for an hour without trying to find a trade, try that as an exercise. Like, plan a day, a normal Monday through Friday New York open, or Asia session, London session, whatever. Just sit in front of the charts and don't let yourself trade. And take note, like keep a journal out and take note of the emotions that you have and the triggers that you have and like what's going on through your head. Is it FOMO? Is it whatever? I feel like that's a good exercise. Rejecting that opening range high again. This last 5-minute candle didn't close as bullish as I thought, but I mean, it still had a lot of volume. Here we go. Our initial balance is almost set. As of now, this is our high of day. Oh, Donna, you jumped on the silver train, huh? I have not ventured into silver yet. G-Man has been talking about silver. There's a couple other people in another Discord that I'm in that have been trading silver and like crushing it. Honestly, I'm scared, I think. Like, for one, I'm trying to like keep my focus on a couple things that I'm good at and not have too many instruments that I'm trading. But also, it just seems so volatile. Like, you trade 1 or 2 micros and it just swings. Like the P&Ls that these people are posting, it's like $1,500 and I traded 2 micros. Like, geez. That's great if you win. What happens if you lose? You're also trading 2 micros and you lose $1,500. Like, geez, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Is there a smaller contract size than micros? That seems a little wild to me. Blown accounts is what happened. Yeah, that's why I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a little scared to trade silver. I think it's cool to use for passing an eval because, you know, you can trade a little more aggressively because if you lose, if you blow your account, then you lost the $80 eval fee or whatever. Not that I'm condoning you should just blow through them, but if you trade in a funded account and you blow it, that sucks. I don't know if I'd want to do it in a funded account until I'm very practiced. All right, Shez, have a great day. Initial balance is set at this point. No signs of a rejection yet. So far, that was a pretty strong buy-up. We're holding above VWAPs. But we are also in this range, and the VWAPs are flat. So we could reject this initial balance high and come back down and have it be a range day. But we're also holding above this higher time frame support resistance level that I have marked off. So if we come down something like this and retest these VWAPs and also the bottom of this high volume node that I have, that would be a good long opportunity. I don't know. It kind of looks like we might be in a slow grind up mode at this point. Might not get a pullback. Let's see. Sitting up at IB high, but sellers are not dumping this thing right now. Oh, you guys, that was just rude. Now it's going to continue back up to 400 without a pullback. Price action was mean today. Ugly barcode chop, taking everybody out, and then just straight up. That was not very nice. Did anyone get in along? Even zooming into the 2-minute chart, I didn't see a clear spot that I would have entered along. Because we had this big bullish candle right here. So that is the point where I was like, okay, maybe we're switching to longs. But I would have waited for a retest to lower somewhere around this 305 level. Never really came down to where I would have entered. Not cool, man. All right. Once we get up to this Asia high, let's see what happens. Man, look at that 15-minute candle right there. NQ is like, what? You said you wanted a short? I'll show you. All right, we almost came up to 400. Starting to get a little rejection from there. Retesting that initial balance high. Nice little break and retest there. Normally, I like break and retest trades like that. And it was, if you zoom into the 1 minute, it was pretty clean. Like it broke out with confirmation because the 5 minute candle closed above it and then it retested. But we're coming into resistance, like 400 to 430-ish. This could be where we're getting a pullback. So I didn't want to long right into that. I'm watching to see if we start to see a closure below this initial balance high after coming up to almost this 400 level. If we get strong sellers, we're closing back below the initial balance high, could look for a short. Or it could float back up to this Asia high. So that's kind of what I'm watching for. So far, it looks like it's gonna continue. Pretty wild that a super choppy barcode day turned into a slow grind up day. It's struggling up here. I don't know, it's losing steam. Could just be accumulating for a move higher. There she goes. There it goes. All right, we hit 400. Let's see if it continues up to that overnight high. Oh, that was a pretty good rejection. Still 2 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. I'd like to see what happens. I don't like shorts from here unless we start closing back below this initial balance high. Just retesting that chop zone. Let's see if it gets bought back up. We'll try a short at Asia High. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm waiting for. 441-ish. Or if it drops from here and we get a little move down, retest, that could be an option too if it does not end up going up there. We're about to find out. Kind of turning into a slow grind. We had that choppiness and then a breakout, and now we're back into the choppiness, turning into a barcode again. Full recovery by the end of the day. Yeah, So I try not to trade based on the news and more on price action, because I'm not going to lie, it's hard to tell like how the market is actually going to react to news. You would think like, okay, there's a war, the market's going to go down, but it goes up, like weird things like that. So I usually don't try to trade based on the news. But part of the whole reason for a gap down on Sunday was because of the tariffs, right? Trump announced that he was going to place tariffs and all that stuff. So if tariffs are being delayed, could that make things recover? I don't know. Again, I don't try to pretend I understand what's going on with the news, but that's just my thought. Interesting rejection there. All right. Closing back within the IB high. Would have been a lot easier to take a trade if it came up to Asia high before rejecting. But of course they don't want to make it easy, right? Where is our point of control? Ooh. So originally I was watching these VWAPs around 312-ish. But we also have point of control is sitting at the low of day anchored VWAP at 292. So that's quite interesting. Could come down to there before bouncing, if it's going to bounce. Could just drop all the way down to the bottom of the range. Looks to be coming down though. There she goes. All right, watching to see what happens at VWAPs and the bottom of this high volume node that I have, but point of control, low of day anchor VWAP, like this whole general area. I'm gonna see if we bounce there. Lots of opportunities for a bounce. If not, we got lots of levels to go down. What's up, G-Man? You missed a whole lot of choppiness. Nothing too exciting. Coming back down to these VWAPs. That's not a very convincing bounce so far. The light blue is anchored at the New York Open. Yeah. Yeah, NQ ripped from a random level too. I was actually in a short targeting the opening range low. It never went there. Are we gonna hold here? Hold and go higher? I don't know. Volume is hard to read today. This is that high volume node I was talking about. Came down and retested that area and VWAP. I'm not opposed to watching for a long. It also never fully came up to that Asia high, which of course it doesn't have to. But it also came back up to that opening range high and rejected. Now we're getting some continuation down. Nothing clear so far. Gosh, if this thing is gonna hold at VWAP, this is not very convincing. I don't like it so far. Came down to 313. Somewhere closer to like 290 to 305. And we actually, if we get a bounce, like a little more aggressive, possibly look for a long, but I don't know. So far, I'm not seeing it. Head and shoulders. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of patterns. To me, I feel like pattern trading is almost like when you're a kid and you're looking for shapes in the clouds and you're just trying to like make something out of nothing. If you have like a back-tested data point on it, then heck yeah, go for it. More power to you. But in my experience, I feel like when you start to see shapes in the charts, it's just because you've been staring at the charts too long and you're like, I see a head and shoulders. Because half the time when people show me their head and shoulders, I'm like, I don't know. And then all the rules where like this shoulder has to be lower than the head and 50% of it has to blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I think people are making it up. That's just my opinion, though. Maybe not the popular opinion. You like the shampoo, though? Well, it did hold those VWAPs. Coming back up to IB high. Let's see if it breaks out. This right here definitely could have been a good long, and I'll count that for me as a missed trade. I think I was being too greedy with my pullback. I had this session volume profile up. The point of control moved. How rude. Now the point of control is right at VWAP. It was down here more towards like 290-ish. So with point of control being low and this low of day anchored VWAP right there, I was looking for it to come further down. So that was my bad. Would have been a great trade right there, but that's okay. Next opportunity would be this Asia high if it gets up there. See what happens. I'm with what Verisat was saying, though, or this thing could just continue higher. And that's actually what I posted in my game plan on Discord. I was watching for a return to this level up here at 525. And then it ended up coming down to this level first. But since it bounced here, it could now come up to this 500 level. it just went down before it went up. My levels are on point. I just thought it would go up first. So I'm not super pumped about shorting Asia high unless we get like super good confirmation, because it could continue higher. You had a limit buy at 300. Bummer. You missed it by like $12. Gold is going nowhere today. I have it up on a different screen and I've refreshed the chart a couple times because I'm like, what the heck? Like, did my screen freeze? No, I don't think it froze. Gold's just not going anywhere. Am I going short? Not from here, take no marvel. This is kind of just in the middle of no man's land for me. And I definitely wouldn't short right here because it's at IB high. It could bounce and continue higher. If we get back up to this overnight high at 441 and get a strong rejection, possibly a short. But nothing right now. I don't love price action right now, or today in general. Hasn't been wonderful for me. The only great, like, super clear trade that I see is this one that I missed. This bounce off of these VWAPs. It was holding, and then boom, it exploded. But then again, I can't be too upset about it because it jumped up and then chop. There's no continuation on anything today. So it's not like I missed out on a 100-point move or something. Yeah, take no marvel. I've taken 3 trades. One I took right at the open. I took a long and I trailed my stop loss super aggressively. So ended up getting about 40 points out of that one. Second one, stop loss was hit at break even. So break even trade and then 1 loss. So sitting up about $150 right now. Green is green. Not loving anything right now. I don't think I would take a long if it comes back down to this point of control VWAP area, because to me that would be a sign of weakness that it sold off, made a lower high, sorry. I wouldn't be excited about that long. So I think the only thing I'm watching for right now is a possible short from Asia High. But I might just shut it down and call it a day because I don't love it. Hey gang, if you haven't already, go hit that like button. I would love you for it. Just a little thing to help me out. If you're new, I know there were a couple people in the chat that said it was their first time here. We do have a Discord. I share all my charts and levels and stuff, and starting to get other people to share their ideas too. So feel free to join. The link's in the description. It's been a rough day no matter what chart you watch, yeah. Gold is doing nothing, which makes sense because it's been on a tear, just hitting all-time highs day after day. So it's got to settle at some point before continuing to blast off higher. So that makes sense on gold. But yeah, ES&NQ, I don't really watch much else. All right, team. I'm not seeing anything I like. I think what I'm going to do is set an alert at this Asia high at 440 and see what happens. Again, I'm not super thrilled to take a short unless we get confirmation. So what that would look like to me is a wick up above this level with a strong rejection. So if you're looking at like the 2-minute chart or the 5-minute chart or something, a candle that moves up above and then closes back below. So it has a long upper tail. And then an increase in volume at the bottom of the chart. If you look at your volume down here, if volume increases at that level, that to me would mean that sellers were, or just in general, there was a lot of interest at that level. And then even better if there's an engulfing selling candle. That's kind of what I would look for in a short. If that doesn't happen, then this slow grind up may be continuing up to 500, 520. Like there's several levels up here before it actually starts to sell off. But yeah, that's my plan. Gonna watch Asia high. If nothing happens, then it's gonna continue grinding up. But I think I'm gonna call it a day. Come join me in Discord if you guys aren't already. Use code Krista if you're making any prop firm purchases. I appreciate the support. Love you guys. Other than that, have a good day. Trade safe, friends.